interviewing me every morning over the dinner table, asking me questions. I said this will give us a head start on
Breakfast.
putting the movie together.
So I was going to ask you this: when you were recording All Things Must Pass, when did it occur to you guys that maybe you were putting a band together? Was it during? It was before that, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, George asked us to put a band together, so that's when I called Jim and Carl, and so we were already putting a band together. It just happened to be to do his album, and then we carried it on from that.
So you already knew that you guys had a band. You were going to do stuff together.
Yeah. And we already knew that we were the core band for the album. But he got started before Carl and Jim even showed up. George had already started. That's why Alan White, the very first of the albums, Alan White played drums on the first 6 songs. And like My Sweet Lord was Alan White, Klaus Vorman, George, and me. That was it. My Sweet Lord. And there was a couple of other ones, that it's just, that's who it is. Just the 4 of us.
And you were there pretty much every single day.
I was there every day. Even the days there were, when Pete Drake came, I didn't miss a session, period. Even when Pete Drake came, it was a closed deal. I said, I got to be here anyway because I'm not going to miss these sessions. So I was there, but I didn't play or anything on the Pete Drake thing. That was my idea.
Drake, he was your idea.
That was my thing,
And how did that come about?
We were listening back to All Things Must Pass, and when it started, to the playback, and I went, and Phil Spector said, "Who did that?" And I like real sheepishly, like a little kid in school, like that thing, like Johnny Cash show. I said, it was me. I thought he was going to tell me to shut the fuck up, and he said, "Get out on the microphone and do that." And I went down and tried to do it on the mic, and it sounded like me whistling. I said, "You need to get Pete Drake to play this, man." And sure enough, it wasn't but a matter of about 3 or 4 days later, Pete Drake showed up, and they had a couple of special Pete Drake sessions.
So
he thanked me for that years later. Pete did. I saw him in Nashville, and he said he thanked me for getting him in on the session.
You had a lot to do with a variety of things on All Things Must Pass.
Yeah,
the backgrounds and the horn parts.
Yeah. And
how did that come about?
George asked me if I would help with the horns, help do the horn parts, because he didn't know anything about it, and I'd just come out of Delaney and Bonnie. And I said, sure. Well, and Bobby Keys and Jim Price, Jim not so much, but Bobby didn't really cotton to me giving him ideas about it. But I mean, I came up with the ideas about playing a trombone on it, a real odd instrument. I used Jim on trombone on my solo records as well. But that, and played, of course, all the pump organ and all the Hammond except for Behind That Locked Door, and that's Billy playing, Billy Preston. And the hanging bells, I had a chime, doom, 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 doom. I played them with a leather mallet.
Right, and you did backgrounds, and when you did the background vocals, you did that with Eric, and you did it with George.
Well, there was a couple of them on Let It Down. It's like Eric and me, just Eric and me singing Let It Down. And
did you write the background parts? Or
yes, I did all the background parts. I wrote them, and
for the whole record.
The ones that I'm singing on, which is all of them. I think there might be one that George is doing, but on My Sweet Lord, that's just George and me.
But he wrote that, didn't he?
All those, yeah, because it's about 100 names of God. Krishna, Krishna, Ada, Ada, Hoodoo, Hoodoo, Edu, Veshu, I don't know, whatever, something. Adashrama. I said, what is all of these names? We were singing all these things, and I was saying them wrong,
Right.
I was just reading it and singing it. He said, no, it's like Adishrama, you know. He told me the, so we had to go a couple of times and get the words right, you know. But those are all George's parts. And I sang the second part harmony, and he did all the rest of the vocals on that one.
So he would spend the rest of the day putting those vocals
All
on.
day long putting vocals on. He came back. I was at Friar Park when he came. Was sitting in the dining room, and he came in and he was exhausted from singing background parts all
Was
day
he happy
long.
about this record? What did he think about it?
He thought it was great. He loved it. I remember when it was finished and we were at Friar Park and up in the music room listening, and I'm sitting on a beanbag chair, you know, drinking green ginger wine and Bell Scotch and listening to, you know, All Things Must Pass with George, and it was just great.
Was
you
it
know.
just you and George?
Yeah, and Patty. I think Terry Dorian was in and out of there as well.
That must have been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were dropping in on those sessions, unlike your
Lots of people
your
dropped.
Layla record.
And lots of people claimed that they played on it, but they didn't really, you know. There's a lot of people just...
So who was dropping in? Who was coming in?
Phil Collins came. He played, but he did play some bongo on a conga drum on Give Me Your Wah-Wah on Wah-Wah. Because we had two drummers, two bass players. I mean, there's like 14 people playing at the same time. John and Yoko came with the front and back cover of the new record, and they both were naked, you know. And I think they had put that in a brown bag or something. So they eventually showed them with both their saggy asses on the cover, and they had the front shot, you know. And it was just not appealing, you know, him with all uncircumcised. It's just him, he was like, he was like, we don't want to see this, you know, nobody wants to see this. I'm not interested, you know, her tits laying on her belly, you know. Not interested in seeing all that. But they had it there for all of us to see for some reason. But when they came, they were completely blown away. John was. Nobody paid any attention to Yoko. I don't think anybody still pays any attention to her.
No. Well, I know at the time she was having a hard time.
She's still having a hard time with the singing.
Did Paul McCartney show up as well?
No.
To all the Beatles?
No.
Now, why wouldn't he show up?
I wouldn't know.
Huh.
Maybe he wasn't around, but I don't know.
But everybody.
But I do know that I was at George's one afternoon when they were living in the gatehouse, well, the second house up from the gate, before the big house was finished out. And was on the thing, and it was George's brother come in with he said, this is something for you. And George was a little acetate. And well, you don't know what an acetate is. It's preliminary pressing of the record. And it was I didn't know it was Paul McCartney, but bum, 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 bum. It was a nut, get my coat, I get my hat, and all this stuff, you know, and then it's another day. Ba, 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 ba. And George says, guess who that is? I said, I haven't got a fucking clue. Ba, 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 ba. It's another day. He said, that's Paul. I went, Paul what? He said, Paul McCartney. I went, get out of here. I mean, the same guy that wrote all those great songs, you know, Yesterday and everything. But, you know, he well-rounded writer, Paul McCartney. Eric said that he went around for a long time was singing scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs. Like, da, 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 da. And then it finally became Yesterday. He didn't have the hook yet, so he called it Scrambled Eggs for a long time.